I always tell people, families, parents, that everything is in the childhood, by the way.
Yeah.
I see kids who I know in the future are going to be addicts. Like, I can just see that one.
What?
Is not headed in the right
can clock
direction.
it. I can see it. I was never the pretty girl. I was never like the cool girl. I was never that. And obviously deep down, I really yearned to have a boyfriend. I yearned to be cool. I yearned to be with the pretty girls. You know, I had this, I wanted it so badly, but I couldn't reach it. In the span of 3.5 years, 4 years in SA, I probably went for maybe 8 classes maximum. Getting to heroin is not easy.
Really?
Yes, heroin is not sold like
You gotta
cocaine.
know somebody who knows somebody who knows
Yes,
somebody.
and also where heroin is sold is very, very dangerous. You can't just walk in.
Was rehab successful for you? And from your experience, what would you tell a family that's sitting and going like, hey, rehab, Bapani?
Okay, number one, when you're taking somebody to rehab, and I know a lot of families, aside from the enabler, sort of detaches themselves from this individual. You know, they're shunned by the family, rejected, you're embarrassing, you know, you're shaming us. You know, society has also rejected this individual, everything. So when this person is being sent off to a rehab, it's like, you go and deal with
You're on your
problem.
own now, yeah.
I wanted my peers to see me as good enough. For a person to have a successful recovery, it needs 3 components. Actually 4 because of God, 3 and 4. You need, number 1, the addict to be willing, right? I just need to be willing as the addict, right? And willing to do the work and willing to sacrifice. I also need the family. The family has to be involved in this recovery. And that's why family sessions are so important. A lot of families, when somebody's in rehab and they're called, you have to come for the family session. They don't want to. And I've come to realize now, it's not so much anger and irritability that this addict is not dragging them out of their office or out of their... No, I think a lot of it is fear as well. Because of what could be spoken in that family session. Because addiction is truly a family disease.
Right.
And that person being an addict, as I always tell you, has a lot to do with that home and the childhood and everything. So a lot of parents, it's because of fear. They don't want to sit down and, you know, I was molested when I was this old. Why didn't anything happen?
Right.
You get what I mean?
They don't want to face those
They
questions.
don't want to, they don't want the blame to be attached to them at all. The blame should all be on this addicted child. So once the family is not willing to, number 1, be there for this addict, be open and honest, and also do the work, because they also have to change. This family environment has to, because this addict is going back into this environment. It might not change. I tell my clients it might not ever change, but it would be nice. I'm talking about the ideal situation for a person to actually recover. The family will work on also themselves and to change the culture of that family to make it more healthy for not only the addict, but everyone. The third component is the rehabilitation itself. You know, is this a rehabilitation that is actually doing what they're supposed to do? You know, are they qualified personnel working there? Is there a program? Is there activity? Is there work that's happening there? Which most of the cases in Kenya, because I've been to many rehabs, that is not what's really happening, you know? And then fourth, but not least, and the most important is God, my higher power. I will never forget God. God has to be in the mix somehow, you know? The addict has to be aware of their higher power or a strength. If you're not religious or you don't believe in God, something more powerful than you that you can call on to get yourself out of there. So a lot of people, especially in Kenya, I'll speak on Kenya, their families take them to rehab. Number 1, the families detach themselves. It's a thing that's happening there, way over here. You know?
Like we did our part.
Yes. And the biggest, you know, you really applaud yourselves when we're going to visit her on Sunday. Yeah, buy biscuits, buy crepes, buy what? You go, you give the crepes and biscuits, and you really feel, you know, I've done so much. You know, people even, oh, you went and visit. No, I don't know why we clap for these actions. That is the least a family can do. The family should really be there at least every single week, breaking down the reasons as to why this person, and when I mean the family, not only the parents, the siblings also.
Right.
You know? Third component is the rehabilitation. A lot of rehabs in Kenya, majority, it's a money grab. It's a money grab.
What was your experience? So you now have discovered you have this addiction. Actually, you know, the way you described it, you said, you are actually,
like, help me.
In the midst of that, you are protecting the people in your life.
Imagine.
Because they were also having a good time, but you knew that you guys can't take this.
Yes. I've never given anybody heroin. Anyone.
When you've now decided you want to go to rehab.
Yes.
What was your experience like? Did you get the support?
No, I didn't get the support. I'm very strict when speaking about my family.
Yeah.
So I won't go so much into depth. But I didn't get the support, and I understand. Even to this day, I understand. I understand culture plays a huge role. As I said before, fear. I know they love me so much, but there's that fear. You know, a lot of families, we want to just buy things, and just keep
sweep
it
them
moving.
under the rug.
And but they suffer. Not my disease is very loud. Addiction is extremely loud. I will be falling down drunk, or mine is loud. But I know each person. Once you have an addict in the family also suffers. There's also a way that they're affected. My addiction affects their self-esteem. My addiction will affect their ego, the way they interact with society, family, friends, people. So they're also really affected in their own way. And because they don't have a psychologist or a therapist to help them work through these feelings, it turns into anger. Once you don't understand something, once something is unknown and it's causing you stress, you are angry towards it now. So there's anger there, My family, many families of many addicts. That feeling, that discomfort, that I do not know it turns into anger and even sometimes hatred towards the addict. So they choose to pull away instead of pulling closer. Yeah.
I think it's important now to mention that now that you've asked about family, I don't want to go too deep into details, but this is what I'll say. When we started noticing, when you start noticing addiction patterns in somebody around you, and you start noticing, okay, because I have more than one person in my life who I can see that either alcohol, because it's not just substances, guys. There are all sorts of addictions. So when you start to notice, because there's a part where things are coasting. You see, like when she was in South Africa, nobody's noticing, it's normal. But then there's that place where now the cookie starts to crumble. So you start missing out things, you start not paying your rent, you start asking for people for money, you start stealing from people, you start being super manipulative, So, the first time you manipulate me, right? I'll be like, what the then now I'm just like, now I'm smarter. So if you do it the second time, I'm just like, it's now, at that point, you're still not understanding this person is dealing with something. So I've gone through that part. But then the more that you start to notice that, okay, this addiction thing, there's more to it than we know. And I changed my approach to it, which is, and I've spoken about addiction here, that if somebody breaks their leg, anybody in this room, if they have a broken leg, there's no way they'd come here to work with that broken leg without either speaking to us about it. Yes, I broke my leg, but I'm here. It's okay. I can take you to the hospital, right? But when it comes to issues mental, it's okay. Kila mtu ana struggle, So collect yourself and let's keep moving. And so I had to start. What changed my thinking around it was to start to look at addiction as what it is, which is something's wrong. It's an illness. There's something off about this person. And the way I look at it, I use the example of the broken leg. If they had a broken leg right here, I wouldn't be telling him run. I
had to walk it off.
I'd be patient with the fact that this leg needs to heal. Let's deal with this leg. I'd probably even take them to the hospital, right? But when and it's the support that you're talking about. Somebody has something broken. Right? And instead of walking, you keep, and it's because of also, lack of knowledge. Stop doing this. As in, we love you. You want to kufanya shit, right? Okay. Today, they'll wake up and they're okay. They're behaving normal for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? The way you were convincing your dad, let me just go and collect my transcript. Girl, knowing very well. You are about to go for a threesome. Three-way. Not pregnant.
Imagine. I was so upset.
Right?
I was so upset.
In that process, as you're telling us, because I love you. And I want to give you that extra grace. I'm going to believe it, even though I know.
You just know.
You lied to me. There's 100% chance that this is a lie.
Yeah.
But because I also want to believe that you're getting better, I will accept the lie.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
You will steal from me and I will accept it.
Yes. Like, no, it's
right? Because I'm in denial.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because yesterday she was behaving okay.
Yes.
That means she's getting better.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to hold on to that she's getting better.
Yes.
That's true.
Right?
Even though it's right in front of your eyes.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
Because now we are in the place, like you said, we're learning a lot about what causes these fractures that these opportunist things like drugs get in to help this person. Hey, don't worry, I can fix this pain for you. But nobody's speaking of the actual pain, the person. They're talking about the consequences of the behavior because of the pain. So you're seeing them limp, but you're talking about the limping and not the broken leg.
Okay, so back to the rehab. You go to rehab. This is 2016.
Yeah.
How long are you there, and does it work permanently?
I was there for 3 months. It didn't work at all because my first week I was given weed. I was smoking weed in the rehab.
By who?
By the other patients that I already found there. So they told me, go right on your shopping list. You want menengai or sugar? Give it to me. We are going to trade it. I'm going to jump over the fence in the evening.
Guy.
That corner of the fence is the best corner. I'm going to jump. I'm going to run over to Banana Town. I'm going to trade it at the kiosk and with the weed guy. What do you want? You want weed or booze? Weed. Okay, then I'll be back. And so I was just smoking weed almost every day.
For 3 months?
Yes, and cigarettes as well was coming, even with the staff members, there was a girl who was there who worked for KRA, and I think the staff members were so eager, trying to convince her to get them a family member a job when she gets discharged.
What?
And one of her relatives was a CS. So, she would just manipulate them. Yeah, I'm going to get your brother. So you give me his details when I come out. And the girl would just be bringing cigarettes. And then the person would sell us the cigarettes, would trade. So it was just, I couldn't find heroin. But if I really wanted heroin as well, I would have gotten heroin. It's just that I didn't put so much effort into it. And I wasn't that serious about it because deep down, I did also want to change. It's just that I met with an environment that change was not possible.
So what about the withdrawals from heroin?
The first week I felt not so bad withdrawals. I think it was also the shock. I've never been to rehab before. It's really shocking. It's like being in a jail sort of.
Yeah.
There's 30 men and there's 6 girls. You're sleeping on a double-decker bed. You're it was a very strange experience. And then your day is planned out. There's a bell that rings, breakfast. So I think I was so caught up in the system and trying to just adjust that I didn't really feel serious withdrawals. It wasn't so serious for me. And I was also trying to act as if I don't have withdrawals because I don't want them to know it's hard drugs. I kept trying to say it's just weed. So it was, I stayed, but I stayed from choice. I would have run away if I wanted. People would be brought and they're going through the fence here. And, it was like there was a culture in that place that it was, for as long as your family has paid,
do whatever you want.
Whatever else that's going on, we don't care. And there was couples there. I even got into a relationship because I was trying to get myself kicked out. I was more scared of running away. I don't know why. I think at the time I was still what they call quote unquote a Barbie. So I was thinking to myself,
not quote unquote. Well, look at Barbie.
I don't have a Barbie anymore. That life is gone and done. So I tried to get into a relationship with a guy. And I was trying to kiss him at every chance I got, in front of all the staff.
Another patient or a staff member?
Another patient.
Oh my
and I was
God.
trying to kiss him at every chance I got so that I could get kicked out, on a technical, she's kissing a boy, whatever, something. But he ended up getting kicked out and being taken to another rehab, and I ended up staying still. So it was a nightmare.
It didn't work.
So you could do absolutely anything you wanted to do, and the classes it was just mediocre. The people who are teaching us are people who are on attachment for psychology at different universities. It's always based on the 12-step program. So I got there, I was thrown into this group that they already started doing the first step. So I'm joining at second step somewhere.
What?
So the first step is I came to believe a power greater than myself could restore sanity. What does that mean to you? Do you have a greater power? Write down your notes. Okay. I also want you to now go and write down how much you think you spent on alcohol or drugs. Then tomorrow.
What?
After coming to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, I have now taken Suju, which it's just it's crazy.
They're
You're
just
there
teaching
for 1
for the
hour
sake of teaching.
and just teach. It's like a class. There's no internalization of whatever is going on in this program. The program is solid, but it needs to be internalized. This is not something that you teach step 1, step 2 today, and then tomorrow step 3 and 4. No, there could be somebody in that class who's not even ready to even accept a higher power. They're not. So you
but
can't.
you're like, next step.
You can't
let's
start
go.
with God first,
Exactly.
guys.
What?
Let's start with the addiction first.
So it's just ridiculous. It was just a way, I think, to fill in the time, to pass time.
So this rehab was like, because these are the ones that people describe, and in fact, I have it on
That's insane.
good authority. Akimusi nikamie. Niseme. Nikamie.
These guys are dangerous. I was told that they have a WhatsApp group with me, and I run on that WhatsApp group. All rehab owners apparently all have like a community online, and so they post
you're
me
telling the truth
constantly.
You're not the only person who's spoken about this.
And I get scared, and I don't want to be hurt or died. Please please.
You're not the only person who's spoken about that.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody gave me on good authority that at least 80% of the rehabs in Kenya
just for money
are just, like when you have a rehab, you have an addiction person and you're just like, I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
They say, I'll give you a break.
Yeah,
it will cost you X amount. Yeah, right?
And it's not kidogo money. Have you had the figures of just a bed?
It's basically unapeleka mtu body.
Yo.
And then so they come out, either they have now they have connects of who they can, new friends who they can do these things with, because remember, we are all in there
it didn't work.
For a reason. And so with that said, a lot of families are pouring money. You find somebody has taken their person 10 times to rehab. 10 times.
Even some 3 years, some 3 years, 5 years, for as long as you're not bothering me. And I know your son. I was locked up for a year recently in 2020. That's why I lost my tooth. And I think it wasn't so much she's getting better or this is going to help. It was more so, I know where you are. I know you're in this place and you're sleeping here and you have food to eat. And it's a peace of mind from when you're in the streets. And every time my phone rings, I don't know what it could be. So I think also for some parents and some families, I need a timeout.
Yeah. Now let's talk about, because it seems that we haven't even hit the pinnacle of the addiction.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've left rehab.
I've gone to rehab a couple of times, and each time I would come out of rehab, I would relapse and it would be worse. And the rehabs, it was sort of getting worse and worse. I always tell families, a parent who's watching me, any person who has an addict in their family, if you need and want to take your person to rehab, please consult with me. Just send me a DM on TikTok and I'll be able to guide you. Because a lot of the times you want to listen to people who you think, I don't know more about this rehab thing. They've never been. You're getting advice from which friend of yours that you play golf with, I don't know where. And she's just throwing, I know, there's this guy who trusted. Please don't do that. So the rehabs were getting worse. I came out of this one and I couldn't say the things that were going on. Because even if I had a phone call home and I'm on the phone and I'm saying this bangy here, the guys in the rehab will just say, she's trying to get out, she's lying. Because at that time, when an addict is taken to rehab, you just are a liar. So there's nothing you'll say that's honest. I remember this kid who was really being sexually assaulted by one. I've also been assaulted by a rehab director. She was trying to get this message across to her family. And the family called the rehab and said, you know what she's saying now? She's saying Mwalimu Fulani is touching her on her backside. And she got reprimanded, and it was the truth she was saying. And she ended up being added for an extra 3 months. So you can't really even say the truth.
You can't even escape the assault.
Yes.
So wait, so rehab is punishment.
My guy.
A
lot of families look at it as punishment in Kenya because of our culture. I think a lot of rehab owners have strayed far away from the concept and the idea of rehab and what it's meant to be about. I think a lot of them are now using it as a way to discipline. If you look at these exposés on rehabs in Isili, have you seen these Somali rehabs and what goes on? And the parent is willingly taking their kid there to be beaten.
It's wild. BBC has a couple of documentaries. We'll put them in the comment in the Nini, so you can check it out.
Absolutely crazy.
And for Somalis, it could be anything like, let's imagine, from the stories I've had, like let's imagine you've just decided, babako amekupata na sigara.
Unapelekwa rehab.
Na hiyo rehab is just somebody's beating you. There was a whole big documentary that was done on BBC Africa.
God.
Right?
Yes.
And they're not alone. This is a common African thing. Let me just pause here. There's a lady in Ghana, I think was West African, and the community supports her. You know how like drugs can be such a problem, like say in Mombasa, right? So amejitolea. She's helping people cold turkey it. Unafungwa chain kwa mguu.
Oh no.
Right?
Oh no.
And you're seeing like, so the video, I watched this guy literally having a manic attack.
Oh no.
Like he was, Paka, you're like, isn't he demons? Right? And
it's just withdrawal.
He's not the only one. She's put like a shed, and it's probably can take about 100 people. And so in every like corner, there's somebody. Exactly.
It's punishment.
Right? But you see, it's what I just explained. For a lot of people, addiction has been given a name of unajua kichwa mbaya. The people that they're hanging around with. Discipline. Ukimpatia discipline. If you do good parenting. So a parent first is already beating themselves up because they failed. Right? So the society is telling, oh, you have a daughter who's drinking. Oh, you have a daughter who's taking heroin. Hey, my daughter, she's in Cape Town. Right? She's studying. Yes, she's taking heroin. Why don't you take it? So there's shame.
The anger that families now develop. Oh,
right?
yes.
Parents are feeling, I've tried everything. Because by the time a parent is letting you know that I think I have someone in my house who's an addict, trust me, they've tried to cover that. They've tried everything. Why don't you act normal? Right? Yeah. So now we're at this place where I'm taking the kid to rehab. Who is advising me? Kimberly, who's advising us?
When you're taking, I've seen it with a lot of families when they're trying to get somebody, when they're getting, like when the person is an addict and I want to get them into rehab, they start listening to, first they consult with their doctors, their general practitioner, who's going to refer to that random guy who was in medical school that was doing psychology somewhere, somehow.
Who probably runs
who
these
is going
facilities.
To find, and they get paid. If I bring somebody to a rehab, I get money. And it's sick. So it's become a business.
Wait.
Yes.
There's that joke for Atinda. I used to be told, tukule 700.
In rehab, you can negotiate even 10,000. You can even say the first month's fee is my fee. I'm going to take if the cheapest rehab in Kenya is 40K, I'll take the first month's fee and then they'll stay the additional 5 months. And I've even tengenezed for this family. They have money. Where some tu akai miezi sita. Yes, it's a actual literal business.
That's disgusting.
And I'm not even sure if it's tax. I don't even know if rehabs pay taxes. I don't know. I don't know if it falls in which doc. I don't know. And I don't know if there's an oversight committee. I've never been in a rehab and ever seen anybody who's coming to do oversight or to find out anything. I don't know which bodies are in place. I wish we can create a body where people who've been to rehabs in Kenya, private or even public, can report like IPOA, can report a rehab, what has happened. I don't know why
you said IPOA though.
IPOA is I love the Kenya government. I'm a TikToker and I love the Kenya government. Please wake up for me. I love you guys. Kenya government.
Because IPOA literally is failing at their mandate.
Oh no.
But I want to screw back.
Surprise.
I want to screw back to the part where, so you've gone to rehab, you've been in and out of rehab, right? When did it actually work?
Yeah, what was the last?
Rehab never worked for me because it was just disaster after disaster. I take accountability on my part also, as sometimes some reasons for me going to rehab were not genuine. It was not really I want to change. I've messed up so much. I'm not getting any more money. I've lost my car. I've lost my job. I don't know how I'm gonna survive without my parents. So to appease him, let me just go to rehab. So a lot of the times also I wasn't serious. Some rehabs try their best. I know rehabs that are doing the right thing. I've visited some rehabs, but the ones I was going to were really not even trying to do the right thing.
They're just taking money and giving you shelter and food.
Because there's another very popular one in Nyanza. And I think they have a branch somewhere in Central.
Oh no.
Right? You know the one I'm talking about. Aki, I've
been to rehab where the rehab director followed me out of the washroom, timed me after my shower, followed me out into my bedroom. I'm trying to hold myself together the towel. And he's literally trying to negotiate me and tell me, your parent wants you to stay here for 6 months. And his hand is now going up my thigh. And, I know you don't want to stay for 6 months, and I'm the one who has the final say. So why don't you convince me? Don't you want to convince me? And I told him, please leave me alone. If I'm here for 6 months, well, I don't give a F. Leave me alone. So you can imagine, and I spoke to many girls who've been to that rehab, and it's something he's done. And I mean, I was so vulnerable in that time, but I thank God I was using heroin, because heroin makes you tough. Where heroin is sold, you have to be tough. But I imagine a girl who's come from suburbia, who hasn't been toughened by anything, and she's thrown into this environment, and this man has these advances towards her, and a man who's in a position of power. He's in charge of your pocket money, your discharge date, when you get a phone call to your parents, everything he's in charge of. So, it's like a power play. How many had to give in to that? It's sick. It's sick.
It's disgusting.
It's sick.
It's
and they have free range. Actually, if you're an abuser, a womanizer, go find a job at a Kenyan rehab. You will enjoy, because many other patients also are schizophrenic. Many other patients the families have money. Actually, there's a really famous politician. I won't even get into it because I don't want to disappear anymore. But famous politician, and she had done something so insane. And the reason was, one of her children is in a rehab, and he's schizophrenic, but she doesn't want it to be known. So you don't want to take your kid to Madari because of the stigma. You have money. Let me put them in a rehab for 5 years at a time. Once I miss them, they come home, they be schizophrenic, they act a fool, I take them back.
What? 5 years in a row?
Yes. I've been to rehab where people have been there for 10 years. The parents just pay per month. Some of their families are in UK, Europe, whatever, they just send money to the rehab. That person is just, and it's so sad, they get forgotten about that. They're like not human. So there's no shopping that's done. Your families are living good in Runda, in Karen, talking big in golf clubs and country clubs. But they have a son or a daughter who's stuck in a rehab that doesn't even have money for a soda. When we have our shopping, you'll just see the guy will come and he's trying to get, and when you're told whose kid this is, you can't believe. I think the British royal family also did that to some of their family members.
Their siblings, so man,
there's so much to unpack.
But now I'm asking myself, how did you get out of it?
When I came out of rehab, I was there for 1 year. I relapsed because the rehab I was in, the agreement was, because I couldn't go home, we're going to keep her here. She's going to get a job. She's going to work here. I was already teaching classes. After 5 months in rehab, you've done the program. I knew it off head. So now when new groups of people would come, I would even teach them, because that's why I tell you, rehabs are not serious. It's not a real place.
They're letting a patient teach the...
It wasn't a real place. Because I'm
just saying,
it's not a real place. I was given a phone because the rehab director was sexually interested in another client. So they gave me a phone with a SIM card so she could call and put him on the phone. It's just not a real place. So you can imagine, I relapsed because I'm in this. It doesn't make sense to me.
The environment isn't helping you.
Yeah, to have spiritual principles, honesty, to hold myself accountable, to forgive, to all these. But the people who are teaching me the spiritual principles are insane. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. So I'm like, now what do I do? So I relapsed, and I relapsed really heavy. This was 2022. No, 2020, 2021. 2022, I had an epiphany. I can't cheat you. I was not an epiphany. I had a God moment. I think I really met an angel. I was entering the den, and this mechanic with an overall, a blue one, stopped me and just said, I want to pray for you. I'm not a pastor, but they call me pastor. I don't have a church. I see you coming in and out of this den, and I don't think... So
the den is where you go to use or to buy, or...
Where I go, I buy, I use, and then I have to go back, look for money, come back, use. The den becomes the safe place. The world becomes the scary place. I can't cheat you. Now is when the world is safe to me and the den is scary.
Yeah.
But at that time, the den was safe. That was home. That's where I would sleep. That's where I would do everything. So he started praying for me. I don't know how long he prayed for me. I just remember the tea lady who was selling the den passed me and was laughing. When she was passing, I was just like, this rude dog. So he finished praying. And then I went back in the den, and I just didn't feel like this is home anymore. I started looking around and there's blood and people are walking with broken limbs. And this one has been beaten by the mob. He's bleeding from the face.
God.
Eyes are hanging out. Little toddlers are jumping around needles and playing with needles. There's feces everywhere. I'm sitting on a stone. It just started feeling like this isn't it, So I started thinking about how can I get clean? So then I sought out the methadone program, which I love the Kenya government for true, because methadone is provided only in Kenya, I think Tanzania, maybe Uganda. It's not even in South Africa. Not many countries care enough to bring methadone, because people who use drugs, I think we are the most persecuted communities in this society.
After sex workers.
Oh yeah, by the way, female sex workers also, they go through it also, because they look at these things like choices. It's like we choose to sell our bodies or we choose to use drugs. But when you look at it deeply, it's not really a choice. There's no choice there at all. So
so what's the methadone program?
So after that, I started thinking, I started asking people about methadone. Where can I get methadone? Peer educators would come to the den to bring us needles, because that's part of the harm reduction program. But nobody was helping me, I'm like, can you show me? Nobody helped me. So one day, maybe two days after the pastor prayed for me, I just got into a matatu. I heard it was in this place, the place where the methadone is. And I just went on my own. I cried getting there. I said, I need help. I need to stop using. They inducted me. They told me, okay, tomorrow go to the clinic in the morning at 8. Use your last drug at 8 p.m. in the evening, so that when you get there tomorrow, you have withdrawals, so that when you're given the methadone, you can feel it working. It was like the enemy was against me. So I get to the clinic in the morning, my file isn't there. So they're telling me, we don't have your file. I don't think you're registered.
Shit.
As I'm about to give up, a random guy just came and grabbed me and said, where are you going? These people have messed up my file. I don't care. So he told me, just sit there. I'm going to fix it. So finally my file is found. You have to go through rooms. You have to go to the nurse's room. They check your weight, check your pressure. Then you go to the doctors. You're checked for HIV, hepatitis, whatnot. If you get a hepatitis shot, because, we're really vulnerable. People who inject drugs, we're super vulnerable. Then you go to the psychiatrist to evaluate you, to know if there's any other underlying mental problem. Then finally, after 1 hour, and I would have, can I get the methadone now? I am in withdrawal. Finally, you get to the window, they give you 30 milligrams of methadone, and you're told to sit there for at least 10 minutes to let us know how you feel. And I burst out crying. I went to every single room and I begged for them to forgive me for being so impatient, so angry, so irritable, and they're just laughing. I cried because I couldn't believe it worked. I can't believe there's something outside of heroin that has cured my withdrawals and the pain that was in my body from all these years of drug use. So I stabilized at 120 milligram. It's a minimum of 2 years, because they slowly increase your methadone until you're super comfortable, and then you stabilize for about 6 months, and then they slowly taper you down. I went down, I was actually finishing my methadone in February. I was at 5 milligrams. And then just some crazy life event happened where the house I was living in, I had given a notice. The landlord decided to frustrate me. I had to get police involved. It was so bad that I almost lost my whole recovery in that time. And so I just ran back to the clinic and told them, increase my methadone. I'll be damned to go back to being a junkie. Increase. So they increased me back up to now, I think I'm on 50 milligrams now. And so I always tell people, it's keeping me clean, it's keeping me sober, it's keeping me away from the stuff. And I will be on it for as long as I need to until I can safely get off it, because the alternative is really dangerous. And that's why I tell people hard drugs are called hard drugs for a reason. Getting off them is not like alcohol or bangi or ecstasy.
Right.
This is a whole different, you can die. If I stop using heroin right now and I inject myself, I can die. That's why a lot of police don't even like junkies sleeping over in the cells. Like the minute, even if you stole how many phones, the minute the cop knows you're a junkie, he much rather you just get beaten by a mob somewhere and then akuachilie, because you can really die. Yeah.
Hey.
Hii life yenye umeishi at the journey that drug exactly.
Yeah, now it makes
you
sense.
literally we're synergy here, because that's the word I was just about to use. And that's the reason why I asked you that the to give it a description, because in hindsight, right? If you'd have seen all this that was going to unfold, right? Is there anything you could have done differently? You as an individual.
I wouldn't have entered the car. How I got molested was New Year's, Christmas, that Christmas holiday. And so I'm a Kalenjin. So the closest town that had like a supermarket to get snacks was Cabernet, right? So my uncle was going there with the guy who slaughters cows. His name was Omari, right? So my parent looked at me and my brother and said, don't you guys want snacks? Yes. Why don't you go with uncle to Cabernet and buy your snacks and come back? So I carried one of my cousins on my lap and we went. It was me, the backseat was me, my baby cousin on my lap, the guy who slaughters cows, my brother on the passenger seat, and my uncle. And I was 12 years old at the time. It was like a 45-minute drive. As we're going, he insists to carry my cousin. My cousin was probably 6 or 7 at the time. I could sense my cousin is so uncomfortable. I think I'm a deep empath. I think that's why I should just, me being a counselor makes sense. She was so uncomfortable. I could sense she wants to cry. She's wincing, but I didn't know what it was. So after we bought stuff, I decided when we're coming back, I am going to sit in the middle, my baby cousin at the window and him on this side. So he wound up picking me up and putting me on his lap, and he molested me all the way back. So
while there are other people in the car?
Yes, while there are other people in the car. And what people don't talk about when it comes to being victimized at a young age, when it's a sexual assault, is that there's pleasure in it. I think that's an angle that I think I'll be the first person to ever speak on this. But as he's molesting you, he's making you touch him in his penis and all sorts of things. He's also stroking your clitoris, right? And I'm 12 years old. So there's a pleasure. I'm stimulated. There's pleasure.
Because the body is doing what it's supposed to do.
Yes, and this way it makes it very confusing for victims, especially young victims. And that's why a lot of kids get trapped in this prison of, should I say, should I not say? So when this is happening, I'm in shock. I feel pleasure, but I know it's wrong. And it's pain pleasure because he's tearing you. You can imagine a man's hands who slaughters cows. Like, it's very rough and tough and, it's like leather. So you're in pain, but at the same time, pleasure. And then you're a kid, and this is an adult, and adults do good things. They're the right people. And even the courage it took me to tell my sibling, I think was a lot, because I was also going back and forth. Was that right? Was it my fault? Was it, but I knew it was wrong and I knew it wasn't my fault. So if there's anything I could change, I think would be that day, because I think that was the beginning of what do you call this? Like a domino effect of things just going wrong in my life, because it completely changed me forever. Yeah.
I know you already know this, but it's not your fault.
I know.
You did nothing wrong.
Thank you.
And there's nothing you can do about that situation. But the reason I asked you that question is because just to help people who don't understand, to see that, especially as a parent, the best help you can, the first thing you need to be able to see is that this person is probably, what you're seeing is the consequences of something
much bigger than just
something
the drug.
else, right? Yeah. And so with that already, grace is needed, right? Because if you're approaching this from it must be your friends.
Oh, yes.
You're
already lost in trying to understand this issue.
Symptom. It's
because
a symptom.
When I listened to your story, you sought out these bad characters.
I did.
You sought them out.
No one forced it
because
down.
Remember when I asked you, when I had you describing your people in school, you were like, I was never. So you were already ostracized. So you didn't see yourself as someone who fits in.
No.
So then you went to look for those people who also
don't fit in. Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they understand you.
Yes.
Right? And even that pastor who prayed for you and opened your eyes. Because when you went back to that den, you realized this is not my squad.
Yes.
But those are the people that you are seeking out.
Yes.
For years.
Msichana mwenye ametoka good schools,
International
Cape
schools,
Town,
yeah.
you know, so Johannesburg, which means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But somebody would look at it and say, but with
What
all
problems
this, because
does
those,
he have?
because those, you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
These are the common things that people say. Like, why would nini nakusumbua?
And I was really bullied for that, like especially being from that background and then being in the streets, because at some point I was homeless and I was in the drug dens. I always say I'm the toughest junkie in this country of Kenya. I don't care, because I had to deal with the streets being against me and society against me. Whereas if it was somebody from like a background that's similar to the guys of Ngwaro, whatnot, in the third, they would be embraced, you know. If you had to go, if you're stealing in the streets and people are looking for you, they would protect you. I would be given back to the people, you know.
What?
I would be beaten. I would not be allowed to sleep here with my gunia. So I really suffered more than anyone else. And it's because of that background. So for me, for many years, it was a pain to me. That's what when I said earlier, I'm an ex-Barbie, and you're like, no, you're a Barbie. I really try and dissociate myself from that life, because it feels like I'm completely, it feels like a dream, like something that didn't even happen. Because it really ended very quickly, and I had to quickly adjust to my new normal. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people who go to rehab in Kenya today, a lot of kids, especially those from suburbia and whatnot. There's this culture where my parent has money or my parents have money, and so that money is mine. And when I'm an addict, because my family did this and contributed to my addiction, they're forever indebted. They should always give me money, you know, and I should always maintain the standard of living. If I grew up in a mansion, I should always be in a mansion, you know. So it's hard for kids like that to accept that, no, listen, we've educated you. You've gone to university. Now you need to go and figure out, get a job, start life in a bed-sitter or a one-bedroom or something, you know. Lucky if they have parents who are good, who maybe get them their first apartment and their car and whatnot. But for a lot of them, that transition is so difficult. And that's where you find a lot of quote-unquote rich kids get into drugs, you know, because there's always that, na mbona nyinyi mababi munavutanga dawa. It's not even really it's really that transition of, and also wealth in Kenya is very unstable. Like, you could have money, maybe you got tenders this year, your brother became something in the government. The government changes, the tenders are gone. You didn't really make investments, you know. Wealth in Kenya is very fluid. It's only a few who I think, maybe even the 1%, that their wealth is stable. You know?
3%.
Yeah, and we also and we also forget our parents bought these things when they were 200 bob. Okay,
Yes.
you could buy a house for 3,000.
Yes. Now
Okay, you
things
could
are
own your
different.
first car at
Yes.
18, fully bought without a loan. It's not the same for us. So
very
expecting just because your parents have money, even you should have money. I'm like, then put me in the exact same situation my parents were in.
Yes.
I'll make the exact same amount of money they made, but
yes.
that's not the world we are living in, unfortunately.
It's changed so much.
I'm asking myself, who did you want to be when you were a kid? Like, when you see yourself as an adult, because a lot of things happened there. And there was like
Yeah, you know.
So who did you want to be? Like, because I'll start with me. When I was growing up, I used to say I want to be a doctor.
Wow.
I didn't. A dentist. I didn't. I just wanted to remove my own teeth because one was removed. And I felt that pain. I was like, I'm going to be a dentist. I'll do it myself. Right? I didn't know that there were other bigger pains. But I never became a dentist. Where am I becoming a dentist?
I actually didn't know what. I was one of those kids who I didn't know what I wanted to be.
You were forced. You are an
Growing
844
up.
kid. You had to be told, what do you want to be when you grow up?
So I think just because like I grew up around a lot of, like I keep telling you guys, very sheltered childhood. So all I had was TV and books and all of those things.
Did you want to be a cartoon?
No, not a cartoon. So I always liked those kind of things. But like the term like actress or entertainer didn't exist.
Yes.
So I always wrote journalist. Because I was like,
Because
I was like, I like those things. I like reading books. I like watching stories. I like all of those things used to fascinate the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But there was no words for it. So even throughout my primary school life, I just used to say I want to be a journalist. And then I went to high school and options like IR came up, like international relations.
It's
I'm like,
'cause
oh,
of
that
jobs.
sounds fancy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
yes,
started
yes,
saying,
yes.
yeah, I want to do IR. But I was never those kids who grew up saying, I want to be an actress, or I want to be a
see you,
doctor.
I
That
What
never
did you want to
happened.
be?
I actually didn't think I was gonna live too long. I'm actually argue with God all the time. I feel like, hey.
When you were
when
a
are
kid,
we-
you
When you
didn't
were a
think you were
child?
going to live
Yes,
long.
I planned out my addiction, my addicted life.
What do you
I
mean?
knew I wasn't gonna make it to 30. I like the way I lived and how I was using drugs. It's a miracle that I'm even sat here right now. And I've lost a few teeth. Like that's how intense my drug run was. But then I was always trying to impress by saying I want to be like a doctor or a what. I really stick a lot and say I want to be an architect. But deep down, I feel like as you are saying, I knew I wanted to entertain, but I didn't know how to form it in my mind and in my
Yeah.
mouth and describe this thing I wanted to do. I've always liked writing. I've always liked music. Although I can't sing, I can't rap, I can't do nothing. But when I'm alone, I really act like I can rap. So I think now from just rediscovering myself and being honest with who I am, I went to school, I did addiction counseling, I graduated, I'm certified because one of the things I
Congratulations.
love is helping people. I'm such an empath. And I was teaching in the rehabs, and a lot of people who I was teaching are sober. I relapsed and they're still sober. A lot of the clients I've been having since January I actually called my client called me yesterday and he's telling me, Kim, I'm doing so well. I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. I have a brother. I want to send my brother to you. So I love doing that. I think it's a way for me to give back for all the pain I've put out there. And I think I'm good at it. And also on this other side, I'm exploring from TikTok. It's this new ecosystem that I've not been a part of. My 15 years of using drugs, I was never really online. Maybe when I'd come out of rehab, I get a phone. Like 3 months, I open an Instagram account.
You
I
sold the
post
phone.
old pictures. Then I forget the password because I've relapsed. So I've never been consistently on this internet streets. So when I got a smartphone late I think it was 2024 somewhere, I just opened a TikTok. And it's interesting to me because I feel like I enjoy creating. I enjoy dancing,
Yeah.
talking. I'm not
just
trying to do
talking to
movies,
people. Yeah.
learning like the
Yeah.
And by
different
the way, Kim doesn't talk like this
things.
on her TikTok.
Yeah,
I mean,
bro.
if you're going to her TikTok
Yeah,
and you're
please,
thinking
you'll
yes, you
see
meet this
something.
version,
You will not.
it's not true.
I know you mentioned something about the methadone clinic. So maybe can you share more information with that for people out there if someone is interested in starting the journey and they are afraid of going cold turkey because they'll relapse? Maybe tell us some of the locations where it's available, how much it costs, those kind of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what is methadone? Methadone is a heroin substitute. This is the chemical methadone itself. It's a derivative of the same opium, from the same opium plant, right? But with methadone, there's no dopamine rush. There's no highness, basically. So it is used to substitute heroin. Try and imagine like like alcohol, right? So one of the effects of alcohol, right, is to get you drunk, right?
Yeah.
But then it also relaxes the muscles. It also does this. Your brain really, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So we create a liquid, right? Or let's say some random liquid that looks exactly and acts exactly like heroin, like alcohol, but there's no levy. So when you take it, your brain is tricked into thinking it's heroin,
Yeah,
but it's
same
not really
effects,
exactly,
but zero.
but no highness at all. So your brain will it'll go and sit in those receptors. The part where heroin is taken in, the methadone will go and sit in those receptors. The receptors will think, oh my God, it's heroin, but it's really not heroin and it's not going to make you high. So how methadone came to Kenya is through a harm reduction program. What is harm reduction? In harm reduction, we believe that arresting drug dealers and whatnot is useless, right? We believe we should reduce the harm of the drug and then fix the issues around why a person is using the drug, and this will eliminate the drug problem. So how can we reduce the harm of this drug? And one of the biggest issues that come from heroin is HIV, because we inject the drug. So and how this is how Kenya even allowed for methadone here. The Kenya government sat down, I guess, a couple of years ago, and they looked at this epidemic, this HIV epidemic, like it's too much. And they looked at the communities. Where is it spreading the most? Like who's bringing, where is this? So they looked at the key population. They looked at female sex workers. They looked at people who inject themselves. They looked at men who have sex with men. And they also looked at the trans community. And they said, these are the communities where HIV is spreading at an alarming rate and they're infecting the society. So how can we deal with this situation? So they said, okay, with the people who use drugs, this heroin is being spread through injecting needles. So one of the interventions we can put in place to reduce the spread of HIV is, number one, let's provide clean needles. So every week at every drug den, clean needles are provided. So there's no more sharing, because before I'd buy one needle from the chemist, you don't have money, you don't have, I'll inject myself, you inject, so HIV will just move, right?
Yeah.
And maybe in the people who use drugs community, we overlap with many other communities. Female sex workers are there, men who have sex with men are there, boom, boom, boom. So our community is really looked at very seriously, because a lot of the people who are doing these in other communities are also using drugs to deal with so bringing needles, that's one. Number two, they said, how can we stop them? If heroin is the issue, how can we get them sober, right? How can we lessen the amount of people using this heroin and lessen the chances of HIV being transmitted? Why don't we bring in methadone? Methadone is a substitute of heroin. They can start, and because one of the issues with people who use heroin, one of the reasons they don't quit is because of the withdrawals. I told you they could be fatal. So a person really wants to stop using heroin, but it's so painful. Like I can die if I try and stop. So, and many families cannot afford rehab, like where a doctor can monitor the withdrawal process. So what happens? They brought in the methadone, and this saved so many. There's thousands of people in Kenya right now on the methadone program, and it's free of charge. We are not charged.
Okay.
I think our government has partners with the Center for Disease Control, if I'm right, other universities, Maryland University and whatnot, and they came together to provide methadone free of charge, under things like AMREF, Global Fund, World AIDS Organization, all these organizations, because they all had a similar goal, reducing HIV. It's just that we got lucky that one of the ways is through methadone, and so we got sober through. And then also health talks and stuff. So once you get into methadone, you just don't go to any hospital and say, Nipe methadone. Oh, heck no. There's specific drop-in centers for each community, by the way. Female sex worker, men who have sex with men, our community. We have drop-in centers in key counties where it's rife. For female sex workers and MSM, they have in, I think, all counties. But because heroin is specific to particular counties, although right now it is spread everywhere. Right now, we really need to start having the conversation of supplying methadone to each county. But before it was Mombasa, Kisumu, Nairobi, the hotspots, right?
Yeah.
So we'd have a drop-in center, which is like a clinic where you go, you say, I'm a heroin addict. You go, they take your details, your name, your whatnot, and the third, how long have you been using? Then that's what we call the induction process. They open a file for you with all what's your family, emergency contacts, whoop-de-woo. And then this is now taken to a methadone clinic. So the drop-in center and the methadone clinic are two different things.
Okay.
The methadone clinic is more so where you'll just find the NGO that is supporting that. Maybe an LVCT, a NORCED award. They're just supporting the induction process, registering these people so that we know how many people are using heroin. So we know how many people are HIV positive, because you get tested HIV there too. And so it's like to take stats. It's more, the drop-in center works more closely with the government to provide this information. So then once your file is opened, you are sent to the closest, you say which is the closest methadone clinic to you. If I'm in Kisumu, Raila Odinga Hospital has a clinic methadone dispensary. I live close to Kisumu, that's where I'm at. So they'll send the file there. You go the next day, you tell them, my file was sent here yesterday, my name is so-and-so. They open your file, they'll give you a number. You're known with a number. My old number was 630 because we are thousands and thousands. You're given a number, and then now every single day you have to go to the clinic, take your methadone and leave. And clinics are open from 7 in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon, just for 6-7 hours in a day, only in the morning hours. Every single day you have to take medicine, Saturday and Sunday included. And the reason they don't give you a home dose to take is because methadone is really poisonous. Methadone is actually more lethal than I think even heroin. I have so many friends who died with methadone because if I'm given a home dose, a takeaway dose, and somebody in my family goes and drinks that methadone, they could die immediately. If I have a bad day and maybe I'm on 60 milligrams and I decide, F it, today I'm drinking all this methadone and I wind up drinking 200 milligrams, I will die. So you have to go to the window, you have to put your fingerprint, the system reads your fingerprint to know it's you. Because some people also lie with their numbers. I could just go and say 57. 57 maybe takes 200 milligram. I'm meant to be on 30. I'm given as 57's dose. I die. So it's regulated under Kenya Poisons Board. It's a really serious chemical. So you have to go and get it from the drop-in clinic. And so
are there any side effects?
Oh, yes, definitely. I have hot flashes. I have joint aches. Some people say their mood is affected. Some people definitely appetite. It's a serious chemical. It's not like Calpol, you know.
So basically, you can't travel if you're on methadone because you have to go to the clinic every day.
Yes, you can travel to a county that has methadone. Like last year, I went to Kisumu. So I would go to my clinic in Nairobi and tell them I want to go to Kisumu. They'll send a letter to the clinic in Kisumu and say, number so-and-so is coming, Kimberly is coming for these many days. Her commence date is 13th or whatever. So I'll take on the 12th in Nairobi, travel down to Kisumu on the 13th, go to the clinic, put my fingerprints, reads it, gives me my methadone. Yeah.
When should you stop taking the methadone?
It's a minimum of 2 years. Some people take it for all their lives. Kenya, methadone's been in Kenya since 2015, but in first world countries, it's been there for, I think, from like the 1900s, right? So some people stay on methadone forever, where they don't want to get off methadone. Some people stay for that 2 years or 3 years. The soonest I've ever seen anyone finish is 3-4 years. Some people stay on it and maybe get a job, maybe in Kitui or something where there's no methadone. So they have to quit methadone, go do this job and probably relapse and then come back and have to reinduct themselves. Wow. If I miss taking methadone for 3 days, I have to start all over again. Because after 3 days, with a whole new dose, I have to start at 30 again. Because after 3 days, the drug is completely washed out of my system and they can't risk giving me 50 milligram because I could die. I have to start again at 30. So it's really tricky every single day. I've been on it now for 2 years and I think 3 months. Every single day, I have to wake up, find transport, get to the clinic, get back home before 12, and then now I can start doing other things in the day. Yeah.
Did you go there today?
Yeah, I went there today. First thing, I had to go there, boom, then the hair salon, and then...
Okay.
Uliamka mapema.
Yes.
There's so many gems. I mean, there's so many things that we've learned here that I'm sure even just the people who are still there, I can see V there, Mpaka she's doing this, right? But do you ever think you'll ever relapse?
Oh, yes. One thing people don't talk about, especially people in long-term recovery, is the lapses.
Yeah.
Long-term recovery lapse, there's a difference between a relapse and a lapse. So a lapse is, let's say I'm an alcoholic, I've been sober for 3 years, my wife dies or some crazy thing happens, I'm overwhelmed mentally, I go to a bar, I drink today, I drink tomorrow. On the third day, the fourth day, I say, bro, let me get some help. I start going for meetings. I start catching. So that's a lapse, right? A relapse is when you completely fall into the fray. Like, I've quit my job. I'm back to drinking as I used to.
Like before.
You know? I'm stealing. I'm back on the street. So in long-term recovery, lapses are very... some people don't get lapses. I've never met a person like that. But lapses are there. And so these are the things that Kenyan rehabs don't teach and sensitize parents. You know, they just care about the money. Yeah. They want this person to come here, unanipea pesa. So they even say things like, mtoto tutamweka line, atacha kukusumbua. You know, they don't even And the parent is probably the abuser or the reason this kid is the way they are. So they never tell the parent that you're discharging a person who's starting their recovery. Here we've just locked them in a compound, fed them, they look fat and healthy, But the real work will begin when they're out into the world and they have triggers and they have temptations, and a lapse is really, really highly possible. But when that happens, don't push them away, don't judge them, slowly handle it. Get an addiction counselor involved, talk them through, and they will get back on the wagon. Yeah. So I've had plenty of lapses, if that's the question. Maybe 2 or 3 there, yeah.
Okay.
Heroin is your drug of...
Your poison.
Is your Achilles heel.
Yes, that is my drug of choice. That is the one thing that, yeah.
And so would it be safe to say that that life was taking you down to heroin, but you rose like a heroine?
I love it. She said it earlier. I just she's a wordplay. She's a wordsmith. I can't change.
No, I swear, just listening to all the things that you've, and it's life. Like, I tell people that, the reason why I love interviews, right? And especially seated with someone, because I feel like everybody has a story to tell. If even in this room, if I decide to interview everybody, there's so many things that will be like, what? Right? And so we learn from each other. Oh, yes. And from you, when you've been talking about all these things that have happened to you, when you're looking at your life, so many times I was like, no, she's not going to make it. But then I have to remind myself, she's here. She made it. This is a TBT story, because it all sounds like things that were, how the hell are you going to make it out of there? But then I remember I see Kimberly on TikTok, and that's where I met her. And your energy, speaking through the phone, to think that this could have been usurped, or this is always at the cusp of, you're constantly every day fighting for yourself, right? To show up. Girl, you're a heroine.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, thank you.
And that doesn't mean that you're perfect. It just means that is battling you, you're battling it.
Yes. And you're fighting back.
Every day I'm fighting.
It's very easy. It's very easy to give up, but you keep up the good fight. And the fact that you've cancelled how many people into sobriety now? 15?
I can't even count anymore, because even this, I can't count. They're so many.
Exactly.
And it's by God's grace.
Yeah, and you're also paying it forward, which is fantastic. Even the fact that you are saying there are people you actually counseled and you relapsed and they actually stayed on the path.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure having you here, honestly.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, of course, we can't stop here. We have to look into the future. Kimberly, do you want kids?
I've never wanted kids.
Okay.
Ever.
I've never wanted kids. I remember when I first got my period, that's the one thing I told my mom. I don't want this thing. She told me, you need this thing to happen so you have kids. I'm like, can you just remove this uterus thing? Because I'm sure I don't want kids.
What?
I'm afraid of harming my kid. A lot of our parents, even my parents that I've spoken about, I know they love me. Their intention was never to cause harm.
Yeah.
But nobody has a blueprint. There's no handbook on being a parent, especially in Kenya. There's no handbook. So a lot of the times, parents make mistakes knowingly or unknowingly. And a lot of the times, because of the ego that comes with being an African parent, going down to the level of the child to seek an apology, to fix it is
ask what's wrong.
Near impossible. So I am afraid. I am afraid because I do have this addiction disease, and addiction repeats itself. It's a family thing. I'm really afraid of having a child, especially now. I don't consider myself stable. I'm a freelance addiction counselor. I don't have a steady paycheck, I don't have a home that a child can be born into, and then I'm also have a lot of trust issues, especially with the opposite gender and just with people in general, like Sheila said earlier, because once you live the life I've come from, you see the animal in people. A lot of people never go through life never seeing the animal that's inside of them and in others because they've never been in a depraved environment. But because I've lived in depravity where even water is scarce, I've seen what people can do to each other, and it's always in the back of my mind. So I can never fully trust somebody and really give them my heart and,
Yeah.
So I don't think it's in the cards for me. It's by choice. I feel like I have so many babies already that if I had my own, I wouldn't give them the attention they deserve. So I'll just keep on with my junkie. I call them my junkie babies.
People like her who you can see, you're a natural nurturer, right? But you don't see that in yourself because of fear, But it's okay. Let's imagine, okay? Let's imagine hypothetically you have kids with your experience. What do you want to teach them?
I would definitely want to teach my kids that if, number one, they should be very comfortable talking to me about anything because I can't be there all the time. Maybe you've gone to school and something's happened in school and I have no idea. And I'll speak to my kid about abuse and trauma. I think they need to be sensitized. Actually, everybody in Kenya needs to be sensitized on trauma, corporations, families, kids, so that they understand what abuse is. And if it does happen to them, they know that this is abuse and I need to seek help. A lot of the times we don't talk about uncomfortable topics with our kids and our families because we're just hoping and praying that it won't happen to them. But in this way we're living now, cramped up in cities, daycares, you have to throw your kid in daycare, kids who are coming from really traumatized home who come to school to traumatize your kids, it's happening. And so I would really want to tell my kid about the dark side of the world. Because they're going to see it. Maybe when they grow up, maybe when they're young, maybe tomorrow, maybe today, but I can't keep the darkness. So I will tell them about that not every adult is good. There are people who may touch you in your private parts and that's wrong. Just sensitize them on the bad. I think it's so important because many kids don't know the bad. So when it's happening, they're not sure what's going on.
Okay. This has been a very powerful conversation.
Yeah.
Every time we finish Boxpod, I'm just, how our guests took on our powerful stuff.
Wow.
We've just, every time I sit here and I watch someone share their story, I'm just like, wow. And this is the reason why we do what we do. Kimberly, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
Thanks so much
guys.
for coming.
Thank you
This
guys.
has been awesome.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you guys.
We love your energy. We love
you.
that you showed up.
Thank
you. And the fantastic work you're doing out there,
Thank you.
helping other people.
Thank you.
And we pray for you that your journey continues because it's not easy.
It's not.
Right? But when somebody looks at you, they can't tell.
They
that
cannot
you've got all these
tell.
things
They
going on.
cannot
Because you
tell.
carry such an aura of, and there are people who have probably even not even a tenth of what's going on in your life, and they don't even carry the grace that you do.
Yeah.
So,
and if there's anywhere where someone can send you support or whatever it is that you need, feel free to share it.
My phone number is 0743 522 009.
Is this your business number?
I had a payable number, but then I removed it. This is my business number. Okay. This is what I use for when clients are trying to book a session. Or usually I use my email counselor, Kimberly Kenya @gmail. But my number is 0743 522 009. Awesome. I do struggle financially, so any help I would really appreciate.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Guys, to chase a come and see.
Yeah, do that thing.
I don't think I've ever
She's
asked
part of the Boxpod team now.
Yeah.
So
I've never asked. I don't think we've ever asked boxers to changia.
We haven't.
No.
This is the first time.
You know what you need to do? Cheza kama wewe hapo kwa number.
Kwa screen.
But then more importantly, Kimberly, I feel like your story is just begun.
Me too.
I feel like the more you continue, because especially with this thing for rehab, if
I didn't know it was that bad, honestly.
And you see that's the problem.
I'm so disgusted.
You have to get to that place where now you're like, what do I do? And then someone says, hi. Yeah, I see you have a problem.
Yes.
Wacha tutakustraightenia mtoto straight kama. And it's a lie. It's a lie.
Disgusting.
Because they don't understand addiction.
They don't.
Now, who's the best person to talk to craft a solution for rehab?
Yeah, a
I would
recovering
love
addict.
that. I would love to create a structure.
If there's anybody out there who's thinking about, I want to set up a rehab, I'm looking for a consultant, I think you're the best person.
Honestly.
Thank you. I even had a dream to open a rehab once. I'm just looking for partners. Anyone who can partner with me. Let's do the right thing. Let's create like a safe place for our kids to go to. There are other rehabs that are doing great jobs. Yeah. I can't lie. They really are there. But I would like to be sure about a certain place. That even when I refer, I know for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super duper. Thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you, guys. God
And,
bless you. Thank you.
Until next time.
Another one. We did it. Remember, we're on
you.
our journey to 100. What was it?
1,000
subscribers.
100K.
Yeah, shit. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. So if you love the content on our platform, we're not asking you to changia us. We're asking you to
Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, you
and
guys.
get the notification. Because imagine you could have missed this interview. Because you didn't hit the notification button. Imagine.